Hello, my name is Kelsey Leonards, and today I will be presenting my final project on criminology. Okay, so first we talk about deviant and abnormal behavior, which they are very similar in a sense. They're both considered different on what happens in society and different on the norms. They're not necessarily considered bad, they're just different. They're also not breaking the law in any sense. It's really just society's preference on it. It can usually deal with some form of trauma that has occurred in somebody's past that has affected him or her in today's sense. It is learned with principles like on operant conditioning, and it affects those social situations and makes the individuals go into more non-social situations where they just don't interact as much as they have before in the past due to this trauma. There are 5 subcategories within this structural functionalism that describes the 5 different types of deviance, which is neutralization theory, labeling theory, primary and secondary deviation, and finally the control theory. So now we'll be talking about the major theoretical factors and forces that is assumed to cause crime. There are 3 major factors, which is biological theories, social theories, and psychological theories. So biological theories are the theories that maintain that basic determinants of human behavior, including criminality, and constitutionally, psychologically, are based off of inheritance. So in the past, biological theory was based off of mainly genetics and hereditary situations. People believed that whatever a parent had, the child would get that as well, and it would be passed down to them. Social theories of crime are perspective that focuses on the nature and power of relationships that exist between different social groups and the influences that occur within them. So, society demands that people act in a certain way, and it is anything that does not fit that category is out of the norm and is then cast out of society in this sense. So, that happens with a lot of criminal behavior. Because of these criminals committing these acts, they are completely cast out of society after doing these acts and committing them, and they never have an easy opportunity to get back in like they had once in the past. Psychological theories of crime used to be involving a link between crime and actually a lower intelligence level. The individual will always be the primary unit involving this analysis, and the personality that the individual has is a huge element involving the motives that this individual has. It results in a form of unusual mental process within this personality. And actually, criminal behavior can be extremely helpful for the individual itself when addressing the needs. Okay, so the impact of crime on persons and property. Impact of crime can affect many people in different ways, even if they are not the individuals are not affected personally. Everyone is affected by crime. Everyone is different, so their coping abilities are going to be different. Trauma can occur if the victim has dealt with something in the past that has reoccurred. So the victims will have anxiety and will have a high level of fear and distress with this occurring. It will be difficult for the victim to perform tasks that give them flashbacks or make them think of what has happened before in the past, and it causes just a lot of stress, and it makes the individual unable to do a lot of things. They may try alcohol or drugs to numb their pain, which then can lead to a lot of different and awful things for their future. Post-traumatic stress disorder can occur as well, and is something that occurs in a lot of individuals involving crime. Many crimes deal with costs to the victim as well as society. If drastic crime happens in a specific area, people are not going to want to go in this area as much, like how there are bad neighborhoods considered today in society. People do not go around these neighborhoods anymore because there has been a lot of crime that has been seen here, and they are too afraid to go just because this is known as an area that is not safe for the victim or individual. So the extent of crime in the United States is very different than in any other countries. What we have is Uniform Crime Reports, which is done by the FBI, which is a huge database that is made every single year that shows reports on the different arrests that have been made, if it's nonviolent and violent crimes, depending on which can be indexed crimes and non-indexed, which indexed results with assault, criminal homicide, burglary, and even arson. There are some concerns with this practice of the UCR just because people do not always report a crime when it occurs, which is a huge problem in today's society. They want to keep it on the low just because they are afraid of what the effects could be. So there are also victim surveys, which are able to measure the patterns of victimization that occur in a population. And once again, if a victim does not inform a law enforcement that a crime has occurred, this won't be on the survey and it won't have statistics, and nobody will be able to help them. So the ramifications of violent crimes, career criminal, and organized crimes, some crimes consist of sexual assault, murder, and even robbery. It can range from gender, ethnicity, sexuality, and even age. Many women in society find it harder to be on their own, even though women have the thought and are paranoid more often than men, but men are more common to be a victim of actually a crime. So women are too paranoid to be on their own, and they are not going to go out in society as much as men do, but since men do, they're mainly the victims of this. Career criminals now are people who repeatedly violate the law after doing multiple offenses. They will not learn, they will not stop, they are just going to keep on repeatedly doing this offense just because it's what they believe, or it's what they may need to do something. If it's robbery, like to support their family, there are different cases depending on which. Organized crime is the unlawful activity of members of a highly organized association or group who deals with supporting like drugs. There's also going into prostitution and loan sharking. This has a huge effect on society as a whole because they aren't able to get these resources, and it causes a lot of crime just to get these resources and smuggle them and trade them illegally. So a victimless crime is a crime that does not necessarily have a victim, like prostitution. Prostitution usually deals with two consenting people. So the people who are doing this act know that it is illegal, but none of them are getting hurt or are objecting to this crime. The people that disagree with this will not be the ones committing the act. It will be the law enforcement that are doing this. They are also known to be harder to detect since there is no victim, since the two parties are actually both consenting. They will not report anything since they agree what they are doing, they believe it's right, and that it's what they choose to do. Some people don't believe that they are committing a crime by doing prostitution or one of these acts. All right. Thank you so much.